welcome back. Now, what a busy week last week was. Absolutely incredible. 2 videos midweek, absolutely punishing, trying to get those done in 2 days. And obviously, the prize draw at the weekend, that's been amazing. Look at that. How many is it so far, Pen?
I've got 6 pages of entries.
6, it's like 300 entries so far.
Wow.
So you've really engaged with this Scott Heiler stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for supporting that. Most of you have got the answers right, some of you haven't, and I think it's really, really cool that you've took it to your hearts the way you have. We're going to get that drawn next weekend. Right now, midweek, this is what we're going to do today. I wanted to make this a little bit of a pro tips trick. Now, I've known a couple of guys who run professional paint shops for a long, long time, and I've learned a lot of tips from them, things that they do for when they do a paint job on a customer's bike. It's fast, it's efficient, it's reliable, and it gives a good result. And it's important when you're running a business because that's what your profits are about and the future success of your business. So today, what I've got to do is, as you know, we've chosen this Harley-Davidson Softail Slim tank as the donor tank for the back end. We're going to use it, if I can hold it to the right angle again, that sort of thing as a tail piece to go on the back. I think we settled that. So what I've got to do first, obviously I can't operate with it, I can't work with it while it's still in paint, and I hate cutting things up when there's paint on them. I like all the metal I'm using, welding, whatever, to be in bare metal to get stripped. So before we do anything else, much like the paint guys who would paint your bike, I'm going to strip all the paint off this and take the badge off as well. So there's 2 tasks that the pro guys have got, specific things that they do that works for them professionally, and it's nice and reliable. The one thing, first of all, is getting the tank badges off. Have a quick look at these. This is the Softail Slim tank badge. Now, I think personally, for me, that is probably the most attractive Harley-Davidson tank badge of all time. It's just their bar and shield, isn't it? That's a fantastic badge. It's thick. It's almost, I think by the feel of it, it's solid alloy. It's very cold, so I think it's definitely not a plastic badge. And that will absolutely be reusable. Also, extremely expensive. So what we're also going to do, because I'm not going to use those badges, I am going to sell them. And as you can see up here on the board, we have our earned section. This project so far has cost us something in the region of about £1,300. That's the actual cash outlay overall. We spent £774 on parts, spent £1,000 on the bike, but we have earned £450 so far from selling stuff off that we don't need. So I bought this for how much was it? £108. That's what that cost. If I can get 50 quid for those badges, you see the point, can't you? I'm getting nearly half that money back, and the tank hasn't cost so much after all. So you're recycling things. I don't need these badges. I know how much they cost. They're over 100 quid for a pair, so I don't need to keep those. I don't need them for anything. We're going to flog them, which means getting them off nice and intact. And there is a method that the pro guys use. It's been an old school method of doing it for many, many years. The first thing you might think is, horribly reach for a screwdriver and gently leave them off, because what they're attached on, unlike the old days where they were screwed on, which wasn't the ideal way to do it because the water would get in behind the badges and rust the tank in a way. These days they're just stuck on. They use that 3M style sticky foam pad, and it just sticks them on, and it's totally permanent, and it never falls off. It's good stuff. Very, very strong. They really don't want to come off. Now, if you start levering them off, 2 things can happen. You can buckle the badge because they're just made of thin aluminium, quite often usually. And if this is a solid alloy one, you could just crack it. Either way, you'll put dents around the side of it as you try and lever it, and you damage the tank as well. That's the other thing. You don't want to go dent in the tank. And finally, the other problem, and I had this in the past myself, when you try and get these off, if you just wanted to take your badges off and have a polished black tank with no badges on it, you want to get that off scot-free. You want to get it off with absolutely nothing left, no marks, no nothing, certainly no scratches. And one of the things that's a problem is if you peel it off, these corners, any of the corners, as you peel it that way, the corners, has it got that pen? Mm-hmm. The corners will go into the bodywork. They'll lever into it and they'll put dings and dents in it. So obviously, to be very careful, simple method, many of you are probably already screaming it out right now. And yes, indeed, the method to use that the old pro guys have used forever and ever is dental floss. Good old-fashioned dental floss. You know, the stuff you use in the bathroom. Just take a length of that. If you can get hold of it in there we are. And I'll show you how to get that badge off without any damage whatsoever. Show you how it's done. Let's switch it off. I don't use one. Right, okay. So first thing that perhaps a pro workshop or pro body shop wouldn't use is your wife's hairdryer. But it's Christmas and I know what's happening there. She's just let up and say I can use this. She probably wants a new one. Yeah. That's it. Right, so basically what you do is you warm up the whole area just using either a hot gun or, I mean, don't use a blowtorch. It's quite obvious that would be too aggressive. Just a hairdryer is enough. If you're going to use a hot gun, use it out here so there's lots of safety, because you don't want to ruin anything. And also, again, make sure there's no fuel in it, because if you're going to heat any tank up, you know, health and safety first. So we're going to heat everything up first, and what that will do is release the grip. It will soften the glue behind the badge, and this sticky back foam that lives in the back there, it will soften it up, make it more compliant to what we're going to do with it. So it's going to heat this up a bit, and just switch it on and soften it up. Alright, that's warmed it up so it's too hot to touch. So what we've done is made a little garrote there with dental floss and just get it in behind the badge and getting close on that. There we are. Just keep going at it, persevere. And don't be tempted at any point to lift the badge and start peeling it off, because that's not how it comes off. Use two lengths like that, doubled over, twisted together, a bit stronger. And there it goes. Remove the badge without touching it, literally just saw it off. And what it's done, as you can see on the back, you can actually see where it's cut all that part of it off, left that on the tank, and that bit of it wasn't even touching the tank in the first place. But that is a nice, thick, heavy alloy badge, and that will sell nicely. The pair of them will sell on eBay. I'll sell them exactly like that. You can probably buy, I imagine you can buy this sticky black glue 3M pad stuff from Harley, I imagine. If not, I know you can buy it blank, so you just cut it out yourself. You can press it on it, cut it out, and make your own. Let's do the other one. Excellent. Too hot to touch. Here we go. Here we go. Remove two badges without even touching them. Simple as that. And they'll, like I said, go on eBay. I'm going to find out the exact price from Harley. They are cast alloy, die cast alloy badges with the bar and shield. Actually, they make pretty good belt buckles.
We could have one each.
That's it. Matching belt buckles. Right, okay, now, next thing, get the paint off. Stick that up there, just for a minute, and get into this. Now, again, this is about today. This was going to be a simple skills, but I want to link it more to the fighter build because it's very much a part of it. But it's just passing on some pro tips that the paint shop guys use that I've witnessed and watched them using for years, and I know it just works. It really does. You ever hear paint guys talking about scotching something up when they need to scuff up some paint in order to spray it and give it a key? Very often, rather than using sandpaper, they'll just use what they term as a Scotch pad or a Scotch Brite, and that's these things. You know them as your Scotch Brite in your kitchen that cleans your saucepans. It's very much the same thing. The green ones, in fact, are the ones you use in the kitchen. They're the finest ones. They come in different grades. There's the grey colour, which is a little bit coarser, a little bit rougher, and there's a red one, which I've still got in the packet on that. Open that one up, which is coarser still. And they go in coarseness, that's the point. So there's the red one, which is coarser still. And that will put a scuffed finish on the paintwork. Harley Davidson paintwork is notoriously hard. It really is. But you still shouldn't really be using sandpaper to rub it off. A Scotch Brite's the best thing. Now you find these quite often in your DIY store. You got that there? Mm-hmm. It's just a little Scotch pad. This is the super, super tough stuff. It's actually been hardened. I don't have any idea how this stuff is made. I truly don't. Maybe one of you guys can tell me. But this comes from your local car accessory store. It's got a sponge in the middle so you can wet it. Sponge acts as a carrier for the water, so you dip it in the water, and that, what you would do with that is wet sand or wet scuff that to get, you know, the loose paint off, or just to remove paint, whatever. So that is actually marketed as a paint and rust remover, one of those. But there's a step further, another stage you can go to. These things actually, they're not called Scotch pads. Scotch is a brand name, and therefore, like Hoover, I'm hoovering the carpet. No, you're not, you're vacuum cleaning it. Hoover is a brand, and it's the same thing. This is not a Scotch pad, that's a brand. They're actually known as a fleece. If you're interested, that's what they're known as. And the fleece itself comes in different courses, as we said. This is the ultimate edge. This is the top edge. Dental floss everywhere. Get out of the way. This stuff, is that close enough, Ben? Can you see that? I want to see it right close. Can you see that? This looks like, honestly, honeycomb. It is so coarse, and it is so hard, and oh my goodness, so nasty. That's like the surface of a road. It's absolutely violent, and that comes on a 4.5-inch sanding disc, so it goes on your grinder. On the grinder at the minute, you'll see me using these all the time, flat disc. Now a flat disc is flaps of sandpaper layered up on each other, and you just, as they spin, they will sand down metal. They'll grind metal away, certainly thin sheet metal and stuff like that, and they'll actually dress the metal. When you're taking the paint off a tank, the last thing you want to do, really, is grind into the metal itself. There's no need for that. Actually, the metal is fine. You're just looking to take the paint off. Let me just grab this. This was the spare tank we got for some donor material for that, and I cleaned that paint off, if you remember, with a flat disc, and that's the result. You get this etched finish where the flat disc is actually cut into the metal. When you see sparks coming off the surface, that's molten metal literally being rubbed away, so you're thinning out the metal. And Jap tanks don't need any help being thinned. They're only a millimetre thick as it is. Harley tanks are a lot thicker, but that still doesn't mean I want to grind any metal away. I don't want to damage that at all. I want it to keep its shape, so I want to take the paint off with these. And this, I've used them in the past, just haven't had any for a long time. I went out and bought them the other day at the welding place. They had them on the shelf, so I just grabbed a couple and I thought I'd show them to you. So if you're looking to take paint off your bike, these plastic paint removal fleeces are absolutely awesome, because being plastic, they're not strong enough to do any damage to the metal at all. You can hold them straight on a piece of metal and they shouldn't scuff it or damage it. They might put a little bit of a patina to it, they'll put a bloom in it, but they won't actually grind it away and damage it, but they'll certainly rip the paint off. So I'm going to load up the grinder, I'm going to fit one in and show you how it tears the paint off that tank. Now I know that a few of you possibly ask for a link to these. That's usually the way it goes, and I don't have any handy to this moment, but honestly, if you go to any place that you would buy your discs, if you buy flat discs, grinding discs, cutting wheels, carborundum discs, anything like that, these should be on the shelf with them. Right, so there it is all mounted. Don't take your guard off. I see so many people running 4.5-inch grinders with no guard on, honestly. If you don't like your looks, then yeah, go ahead. But really, the guard's there for a reason, to protect you. I know that I get tweaked a lot for poor health and safety practice, and I agree. Sometimes I'm not perfect by any means, but you do filter in there, don't you? I think some of the things I see on some videos, don't go take an example. If you see someone operating a grinder without a guard on it, just because they do it doesn't mean it's okay to do, and certainly doesn't mean you should do it. You wouldn't stick your hand in the oven and all that old business, would you? So just, the guard's there for a reason and it fits. So there we go. Enough of that. Let's get PPE'd up. Let's get this outside because it's a real messy business. Okay, so you saw how quickly that tore the paint off. These things are absolutely amazing. It does tend to eat through them. You see on that pen? That's kind of a standard one, new. That's what it ended up like. So it kind of grinds them away a bit, you know. But honestly, £2.95 each. So I paid for those. £3 each. They're available in so many places, you know, DIY places. Anywhere you see flat discs, grinding discs, sanding discs, cutting discs, whatever, you'll find these fleeces, and they're great for taking paint off. They're made of recycled plastic, so that's a pretty green way to look at it, and they really don't hurt the metal. That's what I like about it most. You didn't see, what you'll notice is you didn't see any sparks coming off that at all. Sparks are molten metal, and that means you're actually grinding into the steel. If I run my hand over that now, lovely. It's really smooth. You've got this visual etch on it, and that's a good thing, because when I come to paint this, it's going to need an etched surface. It's going to need scuffing up. I haven't got all of it off because you just can't get the disc into everywhere. You know, there's a little bit under there, but all this in the centre, that's all getting cut out and discarded. I'm only using the kind of cheeks of this, you know, so it's not an issue. And when I get it cut, if there's any paint left, I can take it off at that time. So that's pretty cool. I've got the badges off. Badges are pretty cool, thick alloy badges. They go on eBay. I'm going to find out how much they cost, and I'll put them out at sort of half that price. They're absolutely perfect in every way. There's not a mark on them, so they'll get us a little bit of money back for the project, which is what this is all about. So that's all this was today, really. It's just a little dip into what the pro paint guys will do to make their job quicker, easier, and labour saving and all that. Badges off, just took a few seconds, and then take the paint off with this. This whole video today, including videoing and penny bit stop and everything else, it's been 2 hours, isn't it, Pen?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Not long, that's it. So this was stripped back to bare metal in 2 hours. And what I like about it the most is it's a green way to do it. There's no chemicals involved. Chemical paint strippers are fine. There are some that are supposed to be non-harmful to the environment, but I'm sorry. I'm just wearing that. I'm not buying that at all. If they are harmful enough to tear into completely dry paint and melt it, I refuse to accept that they're harmless to the environment. I really am. I mean, I've used them, I've been guilty of it, but I'm starting to change my view these days, because the environment is a finite thing. We must look after it. Okay, this stuff has been turned into dust and distributed around the yard out there, and I'm going to rinse it away down the drain and so on, sweep up the worst of it, etc. And then it's just a sediment, isn't it? The paint is still dry. It hasn't been reactivated into its chemical form, and it will just form a dry, reasonably harmless sediment. If you put an acid-based paint stripper into that, then you're sending that vile, obnoxious chemical down the drain, and that just isn't right, is it? And if you're not going to do that, then you have to get involved in collecting all of the material that you scrape off and putting it in a safely disposable place that has cost, that has footprint. There is nothing on earth that you will do in your garage that does not have a footprint on the environment somewhere. So when you're doing this stuff on your bike, you absolutely positively must think environment at all times, because in the end, like so many of the kind of North European countries, they'll just stop custom bike building. They'll just put an end to it. It's, you know, they won't want us doing this kind of thing. Already when you buy things like certain paint strippers, they're so harmless that they're trying to weed them down so much for the environment, they're not really effective. But these things, proper effective, and they don't cost a lot. Honestly, I'm going to keep a few of these in the garage. Paint removing fleece, great way to get paint off your bike. That's made that ready to go. I can now put that to one side, ready to start thinking about, I've got to do something just onto the build. Just come over here, Pam. This is the frame on the back of the bike. This is the original factory subframe. It's completely standard. Nothing's been, all I've done is take the plastics off it. I've got boxes and modules and electrics and stuff all bolted to it. That's all got to be stripped off. I'm going to have a look at the brackets on it and the little bits that I don't need and cut them off. And the back end of this has got to be moved in and re-welded, and this is alloy, so I've got to do some alley welding with a TIG just to get that moved into its correct place and re-strengthened. Once the frame is in shape, then and only then will I start cutting up that tank to make it fit round it. No point in cutting it now because it wouldn't fit around that, so it's all got to be done in order. Planning is everything on building a bike or doing any custom work on a vehicle whatsoever. You've got to plan it all first, think about it, and make it work. But there we are, that was a little midweek short one for you. Anything else, Pam?
No, you've got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do. Badges on eBay, tank ready to go, and back into the build. I've still got to paint that silver.
I know.
Never stops, does it? Never stops. Okay, thank you for all your support. Without you looking over our shoulder and making sure we do this right, then we wouldn't be doing it at all, I don't think, would we?
No,
Just go for a beer or something.
we appreciate
Go
it.
for a rug. We certainly do. Anything else, Ben?
Good luck with the draw.
Good luck with the draw. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Ride safe. See you next weekend.